And we'll talk about this game that's coming up as Arne Slot takes his team to Old Trafford on Sunday.
We don't know who the team's going to be because
we definitely need a few answers here. You've gone for a draw, Craig. Shaka, Mark and Jan Agerfjordhoff have all gone for a Manchester United win.
Yeah, and I just...
Oggie's back, there must be...
Oh, yeah, so you want to go...
No, you carry on, I'm enjoying it.
Yeah, I just feel that this is a kind of game that Manchester United are at their best. It's the others where they kind of come unstuck. And I still feel that Liverpool are trying to figure out their best selves under Arne Slot. And as a result, especially in the wide areas, I just feel Manchester United have a little bit of the edge and somehow get it done.
They derailed Liverpool's season last year, really. Maybe it was already sort of heading off the tracks a little bit. And a lot of it was down to Liverpool themselves. They had both games at Old Trafford by the scruff of the neck and basically chucked it away, right? And that was their fault. The reason I've gone for a draw, and I don't want to be too long-winded about it because we've got some big news coming up, I can smell it, is or I hope we do, is there's no longer this rock and roll Liverpool side at the moment. It's a more composed, little bit slower build-up. Arne Slot's in there. There's a lot of changes, certainly behind the scenes. And it was Ipswich and Brentford. And I do think United have got better than last year. I know we'll keep saying it was a low bar, but they have got better. They've signed some better players. I know Garty can't play, but they look a little bit stronger, a little bit more organised. And I think for that reason, we're unlikely to see one of these shellackings that Liverpool gave them 2 or 3 years ago, albeit it was at Anfield, I think it was 7. So I think it is going to be closer. I think United are a bit better organised and are a little bit more of a threat. And I think we're yet to see what this Liverpool side is really going to be like in terms of what the changes in philosophy are really going to be. From the 2 games I've seen, it's been a little bit more... I'm not going to say pedestrian, but a little bit more slower and poised in the build-up. And that's been a little subtle change that I've noticed.
Yeah, and you're going to be at the game. What have you seen? Yes, Mark is with us, but you guys have to wait. You're going to be at the game, Jan. What have you seen that suggests Manchester United will win it?
I do understand I'm now just a side order before Mark will come on with some great news, but I will... Yes, I'm going to the Old Trafford. I was also there at the first game, and I think Manchester United, I would wish Shaka this will fit them well. Of course, Arne Slot knows that. He knows that Manchester United is better when they're not doing the game themselves. What I've seen from Arne Slot's Liverpool is a team looking for an identity.
Honestly, I'm not going to say this. I'm going to say this, and I say this honestly. I'm getting really bored now. For God's sake, announce these people if they sign for these clubs or not.
Fenerbahce under Mourinho.
Okay, just get to it. Come on.
Okay, right. The situation is, we're in this kind of weird holding pattern now. So the deadline closed at 11 o'clock, but we don't know yet because paperwork's being shuffled around, fax machines are wearing away. And the bad news, Craig, is that the Saudi Arabian window is open till October the 6th.
Yeah.
Tell you what, I'm done.
We do a countdown to that. We have to do a countdown to that one, no.
I'm not listening anymore. I'm done. Right. 12 minutes of pain.
But isn't it fantastic?
Go on, take us to song. What are we going to?
2024 and we're still waiting for that fax machine.
Okay.
We have, can anybody, can somebody explain to the young viewers what a fax machine is?
Fax machine.
Just David De Gea. Right, listen, we need to show you what's coming up in the Premier League this weekend, just in case you need to know. These are the upcoming games. All right. Arsenal taking on Brighton. We'll find out what's been going on at Arsenal in just a moment. Don't you worry about that. That's a big one we've just been talking about.
It's the year 2027 and we await news from Arsenal's training ground.
So this is what you've got to look forward to this weekend. And, of course, we'll be talking about all of these games on ESPN FC. Bad news for Arsenal is that Mikel Merino, their new signing, has fractured his shoulder in training. That came in his first session, nonetheless, and he'll be out for several weeks. He collided with Gabriel, and he was expected to debut this weekend, so they'll have to wait a little bit longer to see Mikel Merino. All right.
Well, you go down the training ground and see him. Apparently, we've got people there.
Mark.
Get a picture. Well, that's a blow, isn't it?
It is a blow. It is a blow.
Just to get to
Yes. Okay. Let's
Maybe
get
we
your
can get to
opinion
a
on
football
this.
story here.
Yes,
I don't
let's get
know,
your
just a
opinion on
guess.
this. It's got to be a blow for Arsenal and the player. We've got James Olley coming in.
Hey! Ah!
Hopefully with some news.
Oh, my goodness. Where to first? Mark, first of all, has got some news about Billy Gilmour.
Yeah, Billy Gilmour signed for Napoli. So you've got Billy Gilmour and Scott McTominay are going to be the midfield axis for Napoli this season in Serie A, which is an interesting one. So it's a late deal today, but obviously McTominay's gone there and Billy Gilmour, yeah, probably obviously knows Conte from his time at Chelsea. Good play, Billy Gilmour, but I'm kind of surprised that you've got Napoli going that route. But, you know, who knows? It could be the way to success and winning another Scudetto this season. We shall see.
All right. James Olley is here to tell us what he knows, what's been going on. Talk to us, James.
All right, okay. Well, where do you want to start? I presume with Arsenal, right?
Yes, please.
Okay, so I think the way to look at this is that the Arsenal's window has kind of been about pairing. So they've had issues with trying to get players out, and then when they've been able to get those players out, they've got players in. So if you look at Mikel Merino, that deal happened around the same sort of time as Emil Smith-Rowe went to Fulham. And I think what's happened with Raheem Sterling is that the Reece Nelson situation looked like that wasn't going to go anywhere and that he was going to stay put. And when it became clear that Nelson might actually go out on loan, Arsenal decided to start exploring the Raheem Sterling situation. And that offer, I was told a week ago that Sterling was offered to Arsenal because, of course, they knew that Mikel Arteta had a strong relationship with Sterling from their time together at City. He's always spoken very positively about him in public. And Arsenal circulated back in March that when they got knocked out of the Champions League, they told, without betraying too many confidences, they told a few of us at the time that they were looking for a kind of wide forward, someone who could give them a little bit extra in then that final third, something a little bit different to what they've already got. And I don't think any of us at the time thought it would be Raheem Sterling, but when you piece that piece of information with where they are now, and then you look at the fact that Nelson has gone late and they knew that Sterling was available, I think they decided to go and look at somebody who Arteta knew. There's no sort of hidden elements to his character. And given that Chelsea was so desperate to offload his wages, the player was desperate to move and revive his career and hopefully, from his point of view, try and get back into the England squad. It felt like a piece of opportunism that actually ended up with working all round. But I mean, I have to say, I went to the press conference at lunchtime today with Arteta before the Brighton game. And the mood around the camp then was, we're not going to sign anybody. So I think this has come together very, very late in the day.
Okay, so that's the Sterling news.
What?
What we just heard from James and how it's all been going down. When we stick with Chelsea and everything else that's going on there, what are we hearing about Jadon Sancho?
Well, okay, so this one's a bit harder to explain. I mean, this one I think is data-driven as much as anything. As we've talked about on this show before, Chelsea have an analytics model that they believe identifies them exciting players 24 and under who can develop on long-term contracts at Stamford Bridge. And I'm not here to defend their judgment on this, but they believe that Jadon Sancho, at his age and his profile and with what he's done in the game, has a potential to fit that profile over the coming years at Stamford Bridge in a way that someone like Raheem Sterling doesn't. So again, it's a little bit of an opportunism, I think. I mean, it's ironic, actually, that on one hand, the old regime, the pre-Bowley Clear Lake regime, looked at trying to get Jadon Sancho, years ago and weren't able to get it off the ground. So I suppose you could technically say that Chelsea's interest is long-standing. But I think, again, this has come together quite late. I'm told that the obligation to buy fee is as little as 25 million. And I suppose if you look at that in the context of the 60, 70 odd million that Man United played Dortmund to get him, it looks a bit of a bargain. But yeah, it's hard, and I'm sure Craig will say the same, it's hard to look at that Chelsea squad and think, well, they need another winger. It's not really going to solve them a problem. It just fits the profile of the player that they look to buy, and then it's up to Enzo Maresca to make it work.
Two of these players, at least Mikhailo Modric and certainly Jadon Sancho, has not passed, forgetting the analytics, has not passed the eye test in the last couple of seasons, but for this small period at Borussia Dortmund.
My first thought was, this sounds like a really bad version of my algorithm for the top 10.
Did wonder.
I could have a job at Chelsea. I could have a job at Chelsea. I'm sure my algorithm would do a far better job than whatever it is they is coughing up right now. Jan would agree. Jan would agree.
Same thing. Maybe they do same, Kay, when they have this analytical, it's hard for me to say, this tool. Maybe they do the same way as the Champions League draw. They put the name in and then they get Ronaldo to push the bottom and then they see what they end up with. Maybe there's something like that with that.
I wonder what Enzo Maresca thinks of it all. I mean, he's just come off the back of... He's had all the Raheem Sterling press conferences recently. He's a very inexperienced manager at this level. Don't forget, he's been coaching around Europe and at Man City, then takes the Leicester job. Then all of a sudden he's propelled into this job that's in a different stratosphere, and not just because it's Chelsea and it's London and it's the Premier League, but because of the way the whole club has been ran in the last couple of seasons with the scattergun approach. Coming off the back of a result they must be cock-a-hoop about, the best performance in a long time, particularly the second half. And I just wonder what he thinks in terms of, managing, and he's talked about it, managing the players that are not in the squad, that he said there could be 20 plus of them that are sort of ostracised from the main training group, and then a potential another player coming in. I mean, I don't know. It's another one at Chelsea where you look at it and go, why?
If you listen very carefully, you can actually hear that Raheem Sterling is signing his paperwork right now at Arsenal. Mark, is this true?
I'd imagine he's very close to it, because about an hour ago now we were on talking about his lawyers doing the final details. So, look, there's a medical to be done yet, so he's going to have to do a little bit more work. But I think this deal's going to get done. I don't think it's one that's going to fall. Well, it can't have fallen through now. It's 20 past 11 in the UK. So, yeah, I think Sterling's as good as done.
So, Mark, we've touched there on that. But, James, we've talked about all these very late deals going through, but one of them that isn't going to be very late is Victor Osimhen.
No, and for all the business that Chelsea have done, we'd probably still say, well, they kind of need another striker, right? I mean, all of the signings, you still would say, have they really got enough in that number 9 position to go and achieve what they want to this season? And look, I mean, yeah, I think we'll know more about this in the coming days. But the fact is that Al Ahly, the Saudi Pro League club, arranged and finalised deals with both Ivan Toney at Brentford and Victor Osimhen at Napoli, knowing that they couldn't sign them both. That feels as though there's a lot more going on there than meets the eye. And I think I honestly don't know now exactly what has happened there, but it feels as though they've tried to cover all bases, knowing that Osimhen maybe didn't want to come to them, knowing that, well, even if Chelsea don't come in, maybe they could get him, and they've signed Toney potentially, or lined up Toney as a backup. And if Osimhen and Chelsea doesn't happen, then they've got Toney and they don't miss out on both. It felt as though, but I think the Saudis played that very well, in the sense that, they knew that their transfer window is still open. It's open until Monday for them. So they always had the fallback position of knowing that they had more time. And I think Chelsea have ended up going for the striker that they wanted all summer. Osimhen, I was told months ago, was the one that they wanted to get. They felt that it wouldn't happen. Obviously, Antonio Conte came in. He wanted Romelu Lukaku to be his number 9 at Napoli. They got that deal done relatively late in the window. And I think the fact that that happened quite late, that the Saudi club came in late, it really sort of shortened the time frame for Chelsea to be able to negotiate. And they've ended up, falling short. So, yeah, it's a complicated one that, to be honest, Kay, I can't really give you the full details just as the window's closed this second, but it does feel as though, Chelsea were just outmanoeuvred a little bit in the market there.